What do you want to do first, the purification?
Yeah, we can. Okay.
What?
You want to do it, Maharaja?
No, you do it. You're the Brahmin.
Krishna's the Brahmin.
Krishna's Brahman. But he's not a Brahmin. He's a coward boy.
Krishna's trying. Can you give those glasses?
Do she read these now or later?
Later.
Oh, later.
Okay, Angie, we're going to chant this mantra. And you'll put 3 drops in your right hand and sip it. And then you'll put 3 more drops and throw it behind your back. Just like that. Okay. Huh? If you can hold it in your hand that long, or we can chant first. You can put it in your hand. 3 drops. Is it going to stay there? And chant. All right, so just throw it. We'll put 3 when you get ready. Okay, chant. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastam Vitopiva Ya Smaret Pandarikaksham Sa Vaya Yantara Suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Okay, 3 drops and sip. Well, put a little in there.
And one more.
Yeah, behind. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastam Vitopiva Ya Smaret Pandarikaksham Sa Vaya Yantara Suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Okay. 3 drops and sip. Again. Okay, one more time. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastam Vitopiva Ya Smaret Pandarikaksham Sa Vaya Yantara Suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu.
Okay, lecture.
Lecture involved, yeah.
Okay, so, microphone.
Is it on? No.
Well, now it is. Everything online again. Your internet is slow somehow.
Nice weather outside.
The internet is in my.
Is anybody using the internet?
Nobody else should use the internet here, please.
Can everybody turn off their Wi-Fi?
Turn off the phones. Everybody turn off your phones. You're put on airplane mode.
Can you hear me? Mine's somewhere over there. Mine's on it, right?
Yeah.
It's about a gig.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seems to be a little faster. So, Om Ganati Vidandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Undadita Yena Tasmai Shri Maha. So today we have an initiation, a Harinam initiation. Actually, first I'm going to describe what a person who is taking initiation is promising to do and how to do it, and then I'm going to describe why we're doing what we're doing. It's important to have the hows, the whys, and the whats. So first we're going to do, usually I start with the whys, but now I'm going to start with the hows. So, first of all, taking initiation means to vow to chant 16 rounds minimum every day, and of course, if possible, more in Ekadashi. And to follow the four regulated principles, that is, no meat, fish, or egg, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And in order to make quick spiritual progress, one has to chant one's rounds, not only ritualistically, of course not ritualistically, but one has to chant with the right consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, during the initiations, would always talk about the offenses against chanting. In other words, what you have to avoid. And I'm also going to talk about what you have to do. So, actually, Maharaja told me I have to keep this to half an hour, which is impossible for me. So, I'm sorry if I'm going to be offensive, disobeying the order of my spiritual master. So, anyway, so Prabhupada talked about the 10 offenses, which I'll mention very briefly. Of course, first offense is perhaps the most serious offense, to blaspheme the devotee of the Lord who dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. It's called an elephant offense. When we're performing devotional service, we are cultivating something called the Bhakti Vata Bij. It's a creeper, or seed, Bij means seed, which makes a creeper which grows higher and higher and higher by the process of chanting and hearing and serving and pleasing the spiritual master, and gradually pierces through the coverings of the material universe and ends up at Krishna's lotus feet and offers flowers to Krishna's lotus feet. That's called the Bhakti Vata Bij. So the first offense, that is blaspheming the devotees of the Lord, is equivalent to trampling that creeper, which is called the mad elephant offense, kutihat. And that means the creeper is not there anymore. So that should be avoided. We have to really be careful in this day and age, especially with the internet, where there's so much opportunity to engage in what we call ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem means personal attacks. Just like yesterday, yesterday there was a debate between the Democratic candidates. I don't know if you know about elections or anything here, because you're really isolated. But anyway, and you may be all Republicans, but in any case, there's a debate between the Democratic candidates, and basically, many of them were just engaged in attacking each other personally instead of telling people what they were going to do or how they were going to do it. It was just like putting each other down. You know, generally debate means to put each other down. So, of course, that's in the political sphere, and it's really made its way into the general populace too. This whole idea or dynamic of putting other people down, and it makes you sort of feel better or win an election or whatever, it can become popular. Anyway, so we should appreciate the opposite of blaspheming the devotees of the Lord. We should appreciate each and every devotee. We should be like a swan. A swan actually takes nectar even from a filthy place. And the opposite of a swan, of course, is a fly, which actually looks for the stool. So we should look for the nectar. And that will free us from the fault-finding tendency. So that's really important. The second offense is to consider, and I think very few people here ever commit this offense unless you're born in India, consider the claims of the demigods to be equal to or independent of the holy name of Lord Krishna. And that's not a big one for us Americans. So, and then the third offense is to disobey the order of the spiritual master. Not that one should follow blindly. Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, the blind following absurd inquiries are condemned. In other words, one has a right to ask why, if you get an instruction. And I know that Srila Prabhupada's dear disciple, Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj, was sometimes having really even heated discussions with Prabhupada about different strategic purposes. So, and Prabhupada loved him very much, and Prabhupada kept him by his side all the time, because Prabhupada understood that Tamal Krishna Maharaj knew the his intention, what he wanted to do. And basically Prabhupada understood that Tamal Krishna Maharaj was just brainstorming with him how to do the right thing. Anyway, so, but one should follow the order of the spiritual master, but there are checks and balances in the Vedic system. That there's Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Like if your spiritual master says you should smoke marijuana or something like that, then he's bogus. But it's against Prabhupada's instructions, Shastric instructions, and common sense too. So, anyway, so one should follow the order of the spiritual master, and the next offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literatures and pursuits of the Vedic version. So any literature that glorifies God, you don't criticize. Or any literature that ultimately leads to the glorification of God. Like even if you have the Karma Kanja section of the Vedas, still, ultimately, that's to elevate people, to help people understand there's something higher than their own selves. So we don't criticize that. We may criticize the people who follow the Karma Kanja section. They're just karmis. Although I don't generally advocate using that word. Actually, the word karmi doesn't mean someone who's sinful. It just means someone who is following the Karma Kanja practice, which means he's probably pretty pious. So the next offense is to consider the glories of the holy name to be imagination. Next offense is to give some concocted, materialistic interpretation on the holy names of the Lord. And there are bona fide meanings of the holy name of the Lord, just like the word Krishna means Krish, means to attract, Na means to negate the miseries of the material world, and also to give you Nanda. So this is given by the Acharyas, so that's a bona fide interpretation. And then the next offense is to commit sins on the strength of chanting. For those of you who are Catholic, that means going to confession once a week and confessing your sins, and next week coming again, next week coming again. And usually the reason the priest is behind a curtain is because he's so bored hearing you commit the same offenses same sins every week. He's sleeping and playing on his mobile phone most likely while he's listening to you. So, or there has to be some privacy too. But anyway, so that's, one should not commit sins on the strength of chanting. Another offense that devotees commit, quite often, is to consider the chanting of the holy names to be one of the ritualistic activities prescribed in the Vedas, like the Karma Kanja rituals. In other words, let me put that into a context that we can understand. We have different rituals that we do. For example, I am wearing a dhoti. This is not the Krishna West program. So I'm wearing a dhoti, and it's not that wearing a dhoti is going to make me any more spiritual than not wearing a dhoti. It's not that I'm in Maya if I happen to wear pants, or I'm Krishna conscious if I'm wearing a dhoti. It may be helpful to help us remember who we are or to present Krishna consciousness. Actually, many times it's helpful. For example, we have this preaching program at the universities, and sometimes I've tried to go out in Western clothes. Notice I didn't say Karmi clothes. I said Western clothes, and I saw that people didn't respect me that much in our preaching programs. They just thought, oh, he's one of the guys. So then I started putting on a dhoti at the preaching programs. I didn't put it on at the preaching programs, but wearing it at the preaching programs, and people respected what I was saying more. So, in other words, we do what's important or useful for preaching Krishna consciousness. We're not stuck with these external things. But the holy names are a different category. They're completely spiritual. Purna Shura Nichi Mukto. Vinatvam Namanamanya. They're non-different than Krishna. When you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna's dancing on the tip of your tongue. So it's not the same as these other external things we do. It's on a different level. The external things may help us remember Krishna. That's all right, but they're not Krishna. The dhoti is not Krishna. I don't think so. It would be wearing Krishna. Anyway, and and the tilak marks our bodies as temples of God, but it's on a different level than chanting the holy names. Remember that. So, anyway, and then the ninth offense is to instruct the faithless about the glories of chanting Hare Krishna. That means basically, before we share Krishna consciousness, I'm not using the word preach, share Krishna consciousness, we should understand who we're talking to and don't give them more than they can bear to hear, as it says in the Bible. Just like enough, but not too much. It also means, we don't talk about the gopis on the internet, or in public. We might mention the gopis, but we don't talk about intimate, loving exchanges like the Govinda Lilamrita. In public, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only talked about those things with his most intimate associates, like Swarup Damodar Goswami. So that's also, offensive to present intimate exchanges of Krishna to those who will not understand or take it cheaply, because we're misleading them. And so, anyway, so that's really important. And then the final offense is to not have complete faith in the chanting of the Lord's holy names and maintain material attachments. It's not offensive to have material attachments, or else we'd all be rascals. It's offensive to not to try to get rid of them. You should become aware of them, how you're attached to your tongue or whatever it is, and ultimately try to get rid of it. Get rid of it by praying to Krishna, my dear Krishna, and also controlling your senses. Don't only think that Krishna is going to do all the work for you. In the Bhagavad Gita, it describes as 5 factors of action. Krishna is only one of the 5 factors. You're responsible for the other 4. So you got to work at it. It's not, let's say you have uncontrolled senses and you're eating too much. And you can say, well, it's just because I'm not Krishna conscious. That's an excuse, you rascal. The reason you're eating too much is because you're not making the endeavor to control your senses. You do it. Nowadays, of course, there's so much of this denial of responsibility in society. Why are you taking drugs? Because I'm a drug addict. Why are you eating too much? Because I'm an overeater. Come on, take responsibility for your actions. So that's the point. We should try our endeavor. Krishna, what did it say? Man proposes, God disposes. But you have to propose and make the endeavor and struggle. Krishna consciousness is like a razor's edge. You really have to struggle to do these things. And then Krishna will give you the intelligence and the strength to do it. And then also it's mentioned, which is sometimes considered the 11th offense, it's offensive to be inattentive while chanting. But basically Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this is the overriding offense. In other words, the inattention while chanting causes you to commit all the other offenses. Because you have to be attentive, not only to hearing the holy name, but to avoiding the other things. Inattention is very dangerous. Okay, so that's the 10 offenses. We got that finished. And then, of course, there's chanting 16 rounds a day on your beads, if possible. And, if you happen to be preaching in a communist country, maybe you want to chant on a clicker. But generally, the chanting should be on beads, especially Tulsi beads. Tulsi beads are very special because you're coming in contact with the pure devotee of the Lord. Tulsi is assisting Radha and Krishna in the most intimate, loving exchanges. And you're actually holding her in your fingers. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. Tulsi's a gopi, and you're holding the gopi in your hands, and you're just getting her association. I was ecstatic just holding Tulsi Devi. Anyway, just like we had Tulsi worship this morning. Okay, so that's the process. Now, why are we doing what we're doing? Well, there's many different reasons. Actually, Krishna says in the Gita that people come to Krishna consciousness, Chatur Vidha Bhajanti Mam, because they're looking for wealth, because they're inquisitive, because they're looking for knowledge, or because they're in plain old distress. So that is why we, or whoever is coming to Krishna consciousness, comes. But let's try to understand what our motivation should be in Krishna consciousness. I mean, these 4 reasons for coming, that's okay. But after a while, I think it's important, not only I think it's important, I know it's important, to develop a sense of bhakti, because we're performing bhakti yoga. Bhakti basically means to serve, just to please the object of that you're serving. And that's what it means. Anyavilashita shinyam dhyana karma navartam anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. That, according to Rupa Goswami, this is the nutshell verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that we serve Krishna without any gross or subtle desire. Anyavilashita shinyam, that means devoid of any of these things, like jnana, karma, and avritam, that means anyway, subtle gross desire. And then anukulyena Krishnanushilanam, that we just simply want to please Krishna, doing it actively according to what Krishna wants. I mean, these are the standards mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, how do we get to that point? You know, right now we're not at that point. Well, just like when most of us serve the government, or some of us try to avoid serving the government, by paying taxes. And actually, it's interesting. In the Indian system, there still is there's a tax collector. Here we have, of course, the IRS. You've heard of the IRS? I think everybody who works in the outside has heard of the IRS. And so the tax collector is representing the government, and the tax collector actually has no right to keep the taxes, or any of the taxes. In India, they did, which is really interesting. Did you know that? They used to, like with the story of Raghunath Goswami's father and uncle, they kept more than they were supposed to keep. But in America, God bless America, you're not supposed to keep any of the taxes if you're working for the IRS. You get your salary, like that. So let's, of course I'm making a metaphor, but then we have the spiritual master who is collecting the taxes, or taking the service, collecting the taxes so much, taking the service on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but not keeping anything for himself, which is the point. So, you know, people often ask, what is the spiritual master's consciousness like? And of course that's described very nicely by in the Vedic literatures, Samitpani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam, which is interesting. That's that first type, but again, Aritam, Sadguru, Meva, Vigachet, Samitpani, Shroshim, Ramanishtam. So, Samitpani basically means different things. Prabhupada, I heard describe it one time, means taking straw in your teeth. Because that was the traditional method for approaching the spiritual master in India. That you put some straw in your teeth, like Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami did that when they first met Prabhupada. I first met Lord Chaitanya in Ramakeli. So it means being humble. Trinada Visunichina Torah Ivasi Ishnava. And then Samitpani Shrotyam, one must hear nicely to be a guru from his spiritual master and repeat according to what he's heard in his own words. And then Brahmanishtam, someone who is not deviating from service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But so all these things indicate that a bona fide spiritual master should be completely dedicated to the service of his guru. That's the quality. Just like you take the example of Prabhupada. Now, we glorify Prabhupada because he did so many different things. He wrote books and everything like that. But I think the greatest glorification we can give to Srila Prabhupada is that Prabhupada showed himself to be the best servant of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I mean, sometimes people say, how do you prove that someone was the greatest acharya? You know, what's the objective standard of proof? You know, does one know more verses than someone else? You know, you can apply that standard. I mean, I don't apply that standard. Or does one have more mystic powers? Because Prabhupada had a great mystic power. He could turn hippies into happies, as Prabhupada said. So that's a mystic power. But my understanding of our tradition, of course, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's statements in the Guru Vashtaka, you know, Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, is that we can understand who has the greatest mercy is the person who is actually taking the words of his Guru as his life and soul. And you see, Prabhupada did this. Many of his godbrothers had the same instruction from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the ones who spoke English, to preach in the West and to preach English. West means English. So, but who did it? Who did it at an old age with no facility? You know, the other ones were sent to the West, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brought them back and wasn't happy with them. But who did it? At an old age, 70, I mean, I don't think anyone, well, somebody may be 70 here. But anyway, it's hard to imagine at 70 going to a country you've never been to before with no money on a boat, with a heart condition. I mean, not only is it hard to imagine, I can't imagine it. You know, if I go somewhere, I want to have some spare money, credit cards, people meeting me at the airport. You know, if they don't meet me at the airport, I get upset. Curse them. No, not really, but you know, just like I came into New Orleans and Yogendra was there. Thank God. So, but Prabhupada came to America, nobody was there to greet him. Isn't it? We make so many plans, and you know, we have to have mobile phones to make sure. You know, Prabhupada didn't have mobile phones. Actually, in America, Prabhupada got a phone, and he was upset with how the devotees were using it. You know, Prabhupada got a telephone one time, not a mobile phone, and devotees called him in the middle of the night. Swamiji, how are you doing? You know, crazy. Got to call Prabhupada and wake Prabhupada up. So anyway, so Prabhupada did that, and so he showed himself to be the greatest personality. And so Prabhupada's example is there, and I personally take that example in my relationship with Prabhupada, that the goal of my life, I mean, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, and just a little bit of personal stuff, the goal of my life was to get liberated, get out of the material world. But now I take as the goal of my life to please Prabhupada, life after life, Janme, Prabhu se. And as far as going back to Godhead, realizing my spiritual identity, you know, to me, pleasing Prabhupada is much more important than that. And, you know, when Prabhupada wants, then, you know, those things will happen. But to me, it's not priority. Priority is pleasing His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. So, by taking initiation, getting the point, by taking initiation in the Krishna conscious movement, regardless of who one's initiating spiritual master is, the goal of one's life should be to please Prabhupada, because every one of us are servants of His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. So that means being dedicated, taking initiation, getting the purpose of initiation, besides chanting 16 rounds and all that other stuff, which is not a purpose, it's the process. So the purpose is to actually be dedicated to Prabhupada's mission. When Prabhupada left this planet in 1977, in the temples, we generally read from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada actually states when the spiritual master leaves the planet, the disciples should be ready to leave the planet with the Guru, unless he or she is ready to carry out the mission of the Guru. That's a very heavy statement. Prabhupada was equating it with the process, the sati process by which a chaste wife would leave this world if the husband passed away, unless she had children to take care of, like Kunti Devi stayed in this world. So that very much struck me. And that's really why I took sannyas, because sannyas to me meant dedicating my life to the service of Prabhupada. Not simply that I got Mahaprasad, which I don't eat anymore anyway. So it's a disappointment after all these years. So to me, that was very important realization. And so all the devotees in the movement, the second, third generation, we have some third generation devotees now, should think like that. Because regardless of who your guru is, your purpose is to serve the mission of Prabhupada. Not simply chant your rounds, that's just basic. That means being a human being. Prabhupada said, if one doesn't stick to their vows or promises, it's not human. Because Prabhupada had a really high standard. He was brought up in a very high-class culture. Am I going too long? No. I'm getting worried offending my guru here. So Prabhupada was brought up in a very high-class culture. You keep your promises, right? We're brought up in a culture where basically the politicians not only don't keep their promises, but they're lying. Sometimes they do. They actually do a count of how many lies a particular politician has done. Over the last year, one politician has done several hundred. The news media is keeping a tab on those things. And so, but Prabhupada was brought up when you say something, it means something. And Prabhupada actually said that when you become Krishna conscious, if you say something, it'll happen. Prabhupada said that after a certain number of years of chanting purely, that will happen. So, and then as far as keeping, not keeping one's vows, Prabhupada was just like, what? How's that possible? First time a person broke the vows, Prabhupada was crying, basically. He didn't understand how people could make a promise and break a promise. Nowadays, of course, people get married and they have, prenuptial agreements. When we get divorced, not if we get divorced, when we get divorced, you get the dog, and I get the house. And a Mercedes. So it's, it's quite a different culture than Prabhupada. Prabhupada was brought up in a very high-class Bengali culture. So, but that's basic. That's human life. You keep your promises. But Prabhupada expected more than that. He expected us to just really, life and soul, try to save people and serve his mission. And to me, that's the meaning of taking initiation. That one has actually become a servant of Prabhupada's mission. That's the main goal of life. And doing whatever you have to do to help Prabhupada's mission, which means cooking for the deities or distributing books. I mean, everyone has a different part to play. Like Prabhupada talked about the Indian railway system. How Prabhupada said the motto was keep the wheels turning. Some people would be shoveling coal, the old Indian trains. I remember taking a train in India years ago. You stick your head out the window and your face turns black. Because, these locomotives, anyone's been in any of them? No, you're all too young for that. Look, there was so much shoveling coal in there. So, but that's what it means. You keep the wheels turning. You're a servant of the mission. And you stay in the mission. And you take Prabhupada's words as the ultimate standard for everything. And Prabhupada is everyone's ultimate Siksha Guru in the Krishna consciousness movement. So to me, that's what initiation means. It's a vow of loyalty and servitude to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And one spiritual master is guiding one in that particular role. And the spiritual master is necessary. The initiating spiritual master is necessary because he ascertains or helps ascertain the psychophysical nature of the disciple, as Prabhupada said, and guides the disciple accordingly. So to me, that's initiation. Both the basics, promises, and the purpose.
Mm.
And one should take as one's purpose, I mean, if, again, to please Prabhupada. As far as going back to Godhead, when it happens, it happens. To me, nowadays you find people on the internet talking about having gopis and things like that. I don't have time to talk about whether I'm a gopi or a dog or whatever, in the spiritual world. I just want to please Prabhupada. That's the goal. Okay, so on that happy note, that's the end of the lecture or talk. And so, what do we do now? The name giving, right?
Yeah, name giving and vow.
And the vow, but I also have to finish, I have to chant these beads, which I haven't done. I just got the beads.
So maybe you can go home with them and she can come after the yoga and get the
No, I could chant them right now.
Okay.
Now you have to give the beads to the yoga. I can go home, maybe I can go home.
Maharaja, can you give me my beads?
But I chant very quickly.
Not fast.
So it'll happen. If not, you chant like
Slow.
slow rounds, but I'm very quick. Sometimes I chant 64 rounds.
So we can all just chant while you're chanting?
Yeah, but I'm going to chant faster than you can chant. Unless you can keep up with me.
No. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram.
Okay. Finito. So. Okay, so our prospective initiate should go offer obeisances to Prabhupada, the deities, and then to myself, and we do the vows. So while she's doing that, I wanted to mention one thing. Is recently I discovered that I was making a mistake. I mean, it was a shock to mistakes. I was thinking that our second and third generation devotees had the same attachment to Prabhupada that I have and the first generation has. And then I was thinking that for a while, and then I saw that it's really not like that. So there has to be concerted endeavor to help those devotees imbibe that same spirit. And because otherwise, first of all, the movement will fall apart into different groups or ultimately disintegrate. And secondly, people won't be connected to Prabhupada. So how to do that? Of course, that should be reading Prabhupada's books, hearing the memories of Prabhupada's disciples who served him with that great mood of devotion. And so, of course, serving Prabhupada's mission, hearing from Prabhupada on a regular basis. And no, you can sit here in front of the obeisances. And then with Angie, I've seen that she has this deep attachment to Prabhupada, which I'm very pleased with. I'm already very, very pleased with her, even before initiation, because I can see that it was Prabhupada who actually brought her to the movement. Prabhupada brought all of us to the movement. I mentioned that when I heard Prabhupada on the radio chanting, that's what brought me to the movement, 1960, whatever it is, 68, before anyone here was born. Then it changed my whole life. It's just like I gave up everything, said, actually I lost interest in university, which has really made my mother angry. It changed my life just hearing Prabhupada. And I recognize Prabhupada as my eternal spiritual master. So we want everyone to have that sort of attachment to Prabhupada. And so it also means that associating with those who are Prabhupada's disciples by hearing from them and hearing how attached they were. And Angie, I'm sure, is very attached to Prabhupada. I heard the story of how she came to the movement. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. So now you take your vows. You ready? What are the 4 regular principles you're bound to follow?
No illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication.
Okay, that's good. And how many rounds every day?
16.
16 minimum.
Yeah.
And if you can, chant more on the Kadasi. Usually on the Kadasi, if I'm not engaged in doing anything, like here and giving classes, talking to devotees, on the Kadasi I will chant 64 rounds.
Wow.
If I have a full day, free day, sorry. And it's not that difficult. You get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you got, usually by the time the japa period is over, I at least have half of the rounds done. So then, but you got to get up early. I mean, you really can't get 64 rounds done if you're getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning. You shouldn't get up at 9. We should get up early. You gotta start early. So, I can't think what name should give you.
Oh, God.
Not going to give you Angana, Anjali,
Thank
or
you.
anything like that. All right, so you get the beads with your right hand. Right hand. And your name now, everyone getting pictures of this? Your name now is Ati Sundari Devi Dasi.
Say that again, please.
Ati Sundari, that's the name of Radharani.
Ati Sundari.
Ati is like a superlative term in Sanskrit. Is it? A superlative, the superlative, comparative, etc., like that. So superlative means the most. And Sundari, of course, means beautiful. Ati Sundari Devi Dasi, which is the name of Radharani. So, you offer obeisance and sit down. Ati Sundari Devi Dasi. That's a pretty nice name, isn't it?
So beautiful name. So beautiful.
Yeah,
Can
so
you wear this now? Can she wear this now?
yeah, necklace now. Sundari means beautiful, but that means it's referring to Radharani, and Ati means supremely. So sorry, supremely. ATI. Just like when you have an Ati Rath, there's Maharaja. Maharaja is is a great soldier who's able or capable of defeating many other soldiers, thousands of elephants or whatever. I don't know the exact number. And Atirad is a person who is capable of defeating many Maharajas. So it's pretty good word. It's a superlative word.
And it's also unique because I have never heard anyone with that name.
Good job, Maharaja.
Good job. Good job, Krishna.
Alright.
Yeah.
Just when you did that, I mean, it's interesting that Radharani, there's a sunbeam on Radharani's face right now.
Really?
They look so happy today.
Yeah. Well, they're dressed very nice. I like the outfit. The outfit's amazing. It's really beautiful. Actually, gold is the combination of gold and white. It's like my favorite colors. So, well, anyway, everyone has different favorite colors. It's not absolute.
Right.
Some people like purple, some people like green, some people like blue, but the combination is actually, I would say, is my favorite. Okay, so on that happy note, we're going to do the fireside ways. I'll stay for it. I think I can.
Well, when you have to go, you have to go. You're going to have to take care of the deities, take care of breakfast. Sure, I will be there at 9:30. I'll just.
Yeah, I already did my deities. I already did my offering this morning. So then, if you can finish up, then you can join me for breakfast.
Okay. Chintamani Samasukha Pavriksha Moksha Vite Susulavira Rigadayantam Lakshmi Sahasrasati Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindamari Purusham Tamam Bhajami Enam Kvanantam Aravinda Layitaksham Vahavitam samasitam Buddha sundarangam Kandapukoti kamaniya visesha shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Alola Chandra Karasada Vanamaya Bamsi Ratnangadam Ranaya Keli Kila Vilasam Shamam Tribangam Yada Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Om Tat Sat Shri Govindo 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 Ashyam Subha Dita Achitra Gotra Yogindra Vandanada Sri Krishna Prityatam Apanayanam Samskara Kamaham Karishyami. That's the Sankalpa saying that this yaga is for initiation ceremony. Okay. I'll read some things in English. May Sanat Kumar protect us from lusty desires. As we begin some auspicious activity, may Sri Hayagriva protect us from being an offender by neglecting to offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord. May Devashi Narada protect us from committing offenses in worshipping the deity. And may Sri Kurma, the tortoise avatar, protect us from falling to the unlimited hellish planets. Om Prajapati Vishnu Rishi Brihati Chanda Shri Vishnu Devata Agni Stapane Vinyoga Om Bora Bhuva Swaha. Okay, we'll chant the mantra to call the fire for this yaga. We're going to call the fire named Vaishnava. Om Vaishnava Namagne Ihagacha Agne Tvam Vaishnava Namasi. Om Astraya Pat. After I chant this prayer, some devotees can sing a soft bhajan to Mal or somebody. When the flame of one candle is extended to another candle and placed in a different position, it burns separately, and its illumination is as powerful as the original candles. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, expands himself in different Vishnu forms, who are all as luminous, powerful, and opulent as he. Let me worship that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Okay, little kirtan, soft, nice kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Swasti no Govinda, Swasti no Achyutana, Swasti no Vasudeva, Vishnu Dadatu, Swasti no Narayana Naro Vai, Swasti na Padmanabha Purushatamo Dadatu, Swasti no Vishvakseno Vishvaraha, Swasti no Rishikesho Hari Dadatu, Swasti no Vinitejo Hari, Swasti non jana sutto hanur bhagavato dadatu swasti swasti sumangalai kleso mahan Shri Krishna Sachidananda Gana Saveshwareshwaro dadatu. Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O Aniruddha, bring forth the sacrifice, bring forth the Lord of the sacrifice for good fortune. You are situated everywhere, purifier of desires, purify our desire. May the Lord of words relish our prayers. Om Bora Bhuva Swaha Idam Vishnavedam Namama Om Bhuva Swaha Idam Achita Idam Achitaya Idam Namama Om Swa Swaha Idam Narayana Idam Namama Om Bora Bhuva Swaha Swaha Idam Anantaya Idam Namama. So every time we chant Swaha, then you can offer with your middle finger and your thumb of your right hand some of those grains to the fire. I didn't put a bunch of grains here for all of us to offer, because what happens is the whole temple becomes covered, and Maharaja will be covered, and I'll be covered.
We don't want that.
Whenever I say Swaha, but you repeat
And you just hold it like that with your,
yeah.
not this finger, just these two little fingers on the thumb.
Okay. So everybody can repeat. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapita Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Tadamayam Dadati Swapanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamala Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva, Shri Radha, Krishna, Radha, Sahagana, Lalita, Shri Visakan, Vitam Cha, Swaha, Swaha, Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Dear Krishna Swami Iti Namane Swaha Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Acharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Swaha 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 Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shiva Shabanavi Devi Daitaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhabe Namaha Madhur Ojvala Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Ludapa Siddhanta Swanta Harine Swaha 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 Namo Gorakashuraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipalamba Rasambode Padambujaya He Namaha Swaha Swaha Namah Bhakti Vinodaya Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Swaha Swaha Gurabhi Baba Bhume Twam Nideshta Satjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannataya Te Namaha Swaha Swaha Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Diya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Guratwishe Namaha Swaha Swaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupam Swarupakam Bhaktavitaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktasaktikam Swaha Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Swaha Swaha Jayatam Duratam Pangor Mama Manda Mategati Matsar Bashpa Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Vrindaranya Kalpadrumaraha Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Dalibi Swayamano Smarami Swaha 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 Joyatam, Surito, Kongor, Mama, Manda, Mategati, Matsor Bashpa, Parambojo, Radha, Madana Mohano, Shriman, Rasa, Rambi, Vamsi Vata, Tatasitaha, Karshan, Venu, Wane, Gopal, Gopinatha, Sriyestunaha, Swaha, Swaha, Tapta, Kanchana, Gurangi, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu, Jai Devi, Pranamami, Hari Priya, Swaha, Swaha, Swaha. Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu, Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadara, Sri Vasari, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Swaha, Swaha, Om Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Waha, Waha, Waha. Okay, you can stand up. Bhaktin Ati Sundari, Ati Sundari, and take that banana in your cupped hands, both hands. Okay, please repeat. Om Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Govindaya, Namo Namaha, Om Namo Brahmanya, Devaya, Go Brahmana, Hitaya Cha, Jagatitaya, Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha, Swaha,
in the fire.
Swaha, Swaha. Okay. Please repeat one more mantra, and then the ceremony is completed. Om Dao D-Y-A-U
Yao.
Jiao Jiao Shanti Antariksha Shanti Prithivi Shanti Apashanti Vayu Shanti Teja Shanti Osadaya Shanti Loka Shanti Brahmana Shanti Vaishnava Shanti Shanti Astu Tritiya Astu Om Shanti 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 Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So everybody can circumambulate the fire with the kirtan and
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama Hare Hare Hare